Hello everyone, my name is Hokusai, and in this video I will select the best cards for expedition from each faction. But first, we have to define what I understand for best. There's a type of relationship called risk-reward. The risk-reward ratio measures how much your potential reward is for every dollar you risk. So we can understand how choosing a group of cards to add to your deck is an investment. So what we want is picking low risk, high reward cards or medium risk, insane reward cards. What I mean by this is picking cards that in any game could be valuable and the value is above the average. For example, you are drafting your deck and you see Ravenous Butcher in your pick number 3. You could say it's a good idea to pick it because later in the draft you can get a Curse Keeper. And yes, playing these two cards together would be a great turn 2, but you are taking a risk because maybe you don't get offered a Curse Keeper, or even if you do, maybe you are not going to draw these two exact cards in a game, and these two cards by themselves are pretty bad. They need a specific condition to be valuable. And finally, even if you get the combo, is it a game-winning combo? Is the reward that high to take such a risk? Remember that this is Expedition, and Expedition is so forgiving right now that there's no need to make risk like that. You can easily get to 7 wins without being that greedy. So let's start. All the cards I show, I consider them all good, but I will make some comments about specific cards. So for example, Fleet Feeder Tracker. It's really easy to run it Challenger and he creates a lot of pressure. What I mean by pressure is, let's say you play this card in turn 1 and now your opponent cannot play a Lucian, a Zed, a Timo, a Senna or elusive unit because this is going to kill it. And this pressure makes the opponent play worse. And that's only for 1 mana, that's insane. And the other good thing about this card is that it could be still useful in mid game or late game despite being a 1 mana card. 2 mana, we have War Shift. Being a 2-3 instead of a 3-2 means there's a high chance he can attack twice in the early game. He can buff the health of other units, and if you manage to buff a Challenger unit with this card, you're going to get huge value. 3 mana, Lore and Protege. There's a difference between having 2 and 3 health, but the difference between having 3 and 4 health it's so much bigger. Having 4 health allows you to survive so many things like a Zed, Lucian, Fiora, Draven. That's why I think this card is so good. He usually trades 2 for 1, that means he can kill 2 units before dying, so that's pretty good. 4 mana, Vanguard First Blade. I didn't like this card at first, but I started playing it and he always creates pressure and it's a threat for your opponent. Just make sure you have the attack token when you play it, and in this condition he's one of the strongest 4 mana units in the game. He can snowball exactly when a mid-range deck is at its best. 5 mana from Demacia. Demacia has the best 5 mana units in the game. They are huge units. All of these 3 are really good, but the one I like the most is Swift-End Lancer. Definitely one of the best cards in Expedition. He can even trade 3 for 1. You play him, you attack, kill a unit, and having 4 health, he probably can survive. Then you attack again, and when he dies, you get also an elite unit. This is not even a slow investment. This card has Challenger. He can remove pressure, he can kill a high threat from your opponent. So, of course, the other 5 mana units from Demacia are really strong as well. And I think, in my opinion, Demacia is the safest expedition for the safest faction for Expedition. 6 mana, not much to say about these cards. Good cards overall. I like Remembrance because it's a spell and you can use spell mana to get earlier a huge 5 mana unit from Demacia, which are these 3 that I showed earlier. And yes, you're guaranteed to get huge value from this spell. And finally, for the 8th mana slot, we have Judgment. Any decent player play around it, but still is really strong. Starting with Freljord, 1 mana slot, Omen Hawk. I don't think 1 mana units are a must in Expedition, but I'm adding this card because it fits the mid-range archetype that's so common to draft in this mode. He can buff units, and in Expedition stats matter. Also can be used to stop early aggression or aggression overall. And yes, you decide with which units you block. So having a small units like this, it's pretty good. 2 mana slot, Stalking Wolf. I only add this card because it has Challenger, but also because you can frostbite your enemies. There's a big difference between a Challenger unit in a Freljord deck and a Challenger unit in a Noxus or Piltover deck. But yes, I think Challenger is really strong. It's a really strong ability, so yes. 3 mana slot, Scarth and Steven. Again, another card I didn't like so much when I started playing. He has 4 health, I already talked about that, but also in this case, having 4 health with this effect, it gets better, it's better. He can stop aggression, the enemy has to think twice before attacking, and also he can snowball. 4 mana slot, as I told you, the cards I choose to talk about are not the one I think they are the best. This is the case of Bull Elnuk. I know it's worse than a Legion veteran, there's no benefit being an Elnuk. I know this card exists, Troop of Elnuks, but please only pick this card if you're playing your free expeditions and you want to get an Elnuk meme dream. But yes, this card is a 4/5. That's huge for being a 4 mana unit. I know it's not flashy, it's just a vanilla 4/5. You do not want to play this card in Constructed, but in Expedition stats matter more. So that's why I think this guy is so good. 5 mana unit, Tarkas the Tribeless. He has a situational effect, but you can control it. I read some people say this is not a good card because of the effect. I understand how this effect can be seen as a drawback, but you are in total control of this effect, and of course this also could be a positive effect. Yes, this card has huge stats. Final category for Freljord, 6+ mana. Now that you understand how I value things, pretty sure you understand why I think these cards are good. Good stats, create pressure, etc. The only one that I didn't know if I wanted to include is She Who Wanders. 10 mana, I think it's a lot. I do not see many games lasting that much, but if I know that I have a She Who Wanders in my hand, I will change my playstyle, slowing down the game a bit because I know I have a game changer card. Anyways, I recommend you to analyze your deck before drafting this card. Starting with the Ionia's faction, 1 mana slot, I will talk about Rush because it's a burst spell and I selected a lot of burst spells but didn't explain why. So Rush. This mode, it's all about burst and fast spells because you can play them in the middle of the battle. The important thing is how you play them. Do you want to use Rush to protect your Legion reward from getting killed? It depends. You have to think about a lot of things like your hand, the number of rounds, your win condition. If you're playing an aggressive deck, maybe using Rush in that situation it's a good idea, but if you're playing mid-range, pretty sure you have to keep your Rush and use it for other trade. So yeah, you will see a lot of burst spells and fast spells in this list because they can be cast whenever you want and are decisive in the results of the battles, therefore the game. 2 mana, Green Glade Duo. I will talk about elusive units. Right now it seems like getting elusive units in your deck, it's always a good idea. Not only because they can attack directly to the Nexus, also because you can block the elusive units from your opponent. Elusives are strong right now. You can say the counter are challenger units because they tend to have better stats, but still, only 1 Green Glade Duo in your standing hand, even if she's your only elusive unit in your deck, can be in win condition. If your opponent doesn't have an answer, she can win the game alone. So yes, I see her as a 2 mana Teemo. 3 mana slot, not much to say about this card. Skull Snapper, good stat as a 2-5, but in the late game still can provide value being a 5-2, Shadow Assassin, an elusive unit that also draw a card, and finally Twin Disciplines, an adaptive burst spell. 4 mana slot, even after the nerf, Deny is still great. I do not know what to think about Kinko yet, because having 2 health, he dies against Shadow Assassin, a common pick, but still it's an elusive unit with lifesteal, that's pretty good, but I'm not going to give a formal opinion yet. 5 mana slot, Dual Protector, he got buffed, and I think he is really strong right now. He provides 7/7 stats to your game, only for 5 mana, and also you can decide what to buff in your hand, so that's pretty good. 6 mana, Dawn and Dusk. I like to use Dawn and Dusk in a similar way as for Demacia. These cards can be great finishers, but I think the real value of these cards is using them to create pressure and obligate the enemy to make bad trades. I see a lot of players use them only when they know they can win the game, but they are missing a lot of other great opportunities. And yes, also can be used as a defensive maneuver or to trigger the effects from units that make something when summoned, like Shadow Assassin or Hatchling. 7+ mana. Almost all units that cost 7+ mana are really good, and you can't go wrong with them. The only thing I would warn you is not picking a lot. Something around 4 would be okay, but of course it's situational. The Noxus faction, we can go a little bit faster here. I already explained my reasonings, and I will stop in special cases. 1 mana, a burst spell and a direct damage card. 2 mana, Brother's Bond, it's a permanent buff, so in some cases I even use it only to hit harder to the Nexus. And Trifalian Glory Seeker, I use this card as a removal for 2 mana, but also she has the bonus that she can attack the Nexus. Okay, 3 mana, Reckless Trifalian. I will stop here because I think this card is a little bit underrated. This card has huge stats, a 5/4 for 3 mana. 5 attack is 1/4 of the Nexus health. I know he can't block, but he obligates the opponent to get blocked, so it's similar. He usually trades 2 for 1 because of the 4 health. 4 mana, I already talked about this card when I was comparing him to Bullal Nook. This is a better version of a Bullal Nook. 4/5, huge stats, and also an additional effect. 5 mana slot, Decisive Maneuver. Only fast spells in the game that can stun a blocker. That means you can play it after your opponent declare how to block, so if you stun an enemy's unit that is blocking your unit with Overwhelm, he will still hit the Nexus. He bypassed that blue sign. Anyways, you can still use it to obligate the enemy to make bad trades, similarly as for Demacia and Dawn and Dusk, like I explained before. And final category for Noxus, 6 mana, Battering Ram. Battering Ram is a card I don't see a lot, but I really recommend you to try it. Same situation as Vanguard First Blade, a pseudo of 4/12 for 6 mana, with Overwhelm, with a chance to snowball, and that's huge. Being 12 health, the only way your opponent can deal with it is a Vengeance or Detain, and the worst and only case scenario is getting killed by a Cooling Strike, but that's it. And the final note about the faction, Noxus is the most aggressive faction from the game. Also, it can be a great support faction because it has really good spells, but the units I chose shines the most in an aggro deck, and I recommend you to try making a Ionia and Noxus aggro deck because the combination of elusive units plus the aggressiveness from Noxus is a solid choice to get to 7 wins. Piltover faction, starting at 2 mana, we have Mystic Shot, Academy Prodigy, and Champ Pump Picket. The reason I select this card is because there's a tendency to not get many 1 and 2 mana units in Expedition. I had a lot of games where me and my opponent started playing units at turn 3, and it's not that bad because you get 3 spell mana anyways, but yes, if you trigger the effect of this card, you are almost guaranteed to get a high value card, and if you cannot hit the Nexus, that's okay, this is still a 3-2. 3 mana slot, not much to say about this card, an elusive unit, a burst spell, and a high stats unit. 4 mana slot, some nice scavenger. I love this card. I love some works map, but I don't feel like getting some works maps alone, it's that good. A similar situation like for Demacia and Vanguard Sergeant, I wouldn't pick for Demacia alone. Anyways, a 4-3 for 4 mana, it's a good deal, but if you get the Sunworks map, that's insane value. We are skipping the 5 mana slot from Piltover. I was thinking about adding Middenstone Hedgeman or Champion Shredder, but if you compare them to other 5 mana options, they are a bit risky situational cards, so 6+ mana. Again, there's nothing to add to this card, pretty sure you already understand why I think they are good, so let's move to the final faction, Shadow Isles. This faction has the best spells in the game, and in my opinion, it's the one that makes control decks a proper archetype. So starting with 1 mana, we have Hapless Aristocrat, simple sticky card, nothing much to say, good value for a 1 mana unit. 2 mana, all the cards are awesome, always are going to be great picks, but there's a card that's a bit situational, but the reward is really good. Glimpse Beyond, and if you have allies to sacrifice, pick it and always use it after you declare your blockers so you can deny damage. 3 mana slot, the Undying. I like to call him a pseudo elusive. Of course he can't block, but on the other hand he can't get killed unless he gets purified, but anyways that's still a favorable trade for you. Also he synergizes really good with other Shadow Isles cards, like, well, Glimpse Beyond for example, but the thing is, he creates pressure. You play him and you put the opponent on a timer only for 3 mana. You force the opponent to react and probably make him play worse from a strategic point of view. 4 mana, we only got the red color, even if you don't get the Legend bonus. It's a solid 4-3 body. If you got the Legend bonus, that would be so good. But yes, even after the nerfs, this card is still great. On the 5 mana slot, we have 2 great control spells, and again, Ethereal Remitter is similar like Glimpse Beyond. If you have units to sacrifice, this is a great card. For example, if you sacrifice a 1/1 Spiderling, you are guaranteed to get better value. And also you have like a 10% chance to win the game with this card because you can get a 6 mana cost unit, 7 mana cost. And yes, the one and only bad scenario is getting a Solitary Monk and getting all your units recalled. But even then it could still be good. Maybe a 4-3 elusive unit was what you needed, but yeah, it's 1 unit out of the 150 units you can get. 6 mana, Brood Awakening, a card I like even if you don't have Spiderlings in your deck. The Rockhandler gets better if you pass your 3 wins, because you are going to have 4 champions, not 2 as the initial draft. And yeah, a bit situational, but the reward is huge. And finally, 7 mana, 2 of them, Ledros and Rasa, got nerfed, but still they are so good. The Harrowing, again, be careful if someone played a Solitary Monk, because it's going to recall your units. I lost a game because of that. The Ruination, contender for best spell for this mode. And finally Vengeance, the only single target hard removal in this game. So what do you think about this selection? Do you think I need to add a card? Do you think I need to remove a card? I saw many people rating the cards in so many different ways, so my selection is no exception. It's not the correct one, it's the one that works for me. And yeah, there's so many things that I would like to add to this video, but it would be really long. So I want to make a series. I don't know if you are interested. My next video is going to be about win conditions, because knowing that, you can understand better about the risk you can take. So yeah, That's it.